Ladies and gentlemen, we move on to our next presentation. We have with us the role of IT, which has evolved significantly in the last few years. Everybody agrees. It has been touching every part of our life. In fact, as Mr. Jain was saying, we are extremely happy to have IT touching every part of our life. Yeah? No doubt we do get those calls all the time trying to sell us things, but when we've got this specific marketing, when we go into the malls, etc., when IT touches us, we would love that. So we are moving on with the same kind of note. IT has evolved significantly in the last few years. IT departments are supposed to address all key issues organizations are facing and to talk on the different aspects of IT and how it helps your organization differently, we would like to invite Mr. Purushottam Kaushik, Managing Director, Cisco India and SARC. Mr. Kaushik will be running through the future of business in digital India. Please get your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, as Mr. Kaushik joins us on stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Although I was told that there will be around 250, 300 people, looks like the remaining 150 people are still stuck in traffic, and technology has not helped them enough to reach this place. So maybe what I will, I don't know the slides. Sorry for this. So before I think the slides, by the time slides come up, I am going to speak on behalf of Anuj Bhalla now. All right, thank you so much. So I think let me make a statement first. So first, whether we look at our own lives as people or citizens, whether we talk of we as business leaders or running our own businesses, or we talk on behalf of government, the digital disruption has actually already happened. And it's going to a very different scale now. And I think that part you can see in all the lives, whether, again, people, business, and citizens. Now, there are three main things which have happened in the over maybe last few years, and which are the ones which are impacting ones. One is the mobility part. Now, over last 15, 20 years, the kind of the impact which mobility has had in our lives, whether it is phones or whether it's tablets or now it's smartphones. So this whole thing is completely different world, and it has impacted everyone's life. Gone are the days when we used to be depending on a phone line in our home, but now it's like, I think in every person would be having 2 or 3 devices which are all connected. So that's one revolution which has happened. The second one which is caused the digital disruption is the cloud part. Now, look it from the business perspective. Today, if we look at maybe not more than around 7 to 10% organizations or SME organizations would be on web. And forget about they coming on cloud and leveraging the cloud. It's still a part which has happened. The remaining and the potential, as per some of the reports, it can grow up to I think 10 or 15 times of what we are right now doing. On the other side is the social platforms, all Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, the kind of business impact it is leading to. So these are three things which have already happened. Now, things which are going to happen and where we see when all the programs are being announced around Digital India. The next wave is when the penetration goes much deeper, all the scale will be much different. So that's something which is when the internet penetration goes much deeper into the villages, into the panchayats, and that as the Digital India campaign gets rolled out, the impact of these three, whether it's mobility, cloud, or social platforms, is going to be much deeper. And the next thing is when we talk of connected devices, and a previous speaker was talking about the potential of connected devices, whether we are like all living in cities and the potential, just imagine the number of the lights in Mumbai city would be more than 200,000 lights. Imagine all these lights getting connected and equipped with cameras and watching and giving and covering, providing you a connected safety kind of a environment or cover for the city. Similarly, whether we talk of machines, whether we talk of home devices, this whole world of connected devices and the potential around it is huge. And just imagine the kind of data which will be traveling. Today as well, the total number of movies produced in India, I think if you just calculate the data, every 2 hours that much of data flows. And the percentage of data which will be video is almost like 60 to 65%. So these are all disruptions which are already happening and will continue to be impacting our lives as we see many of these programs getting launched. Now, some of these things have been like last over 15 months, yes, has been much talked about. Things are happening and maybe will take some time, but just visualize the impact. Right now, if we talk of 65% of the people or 67% of the people actually still live in villages which are not really right now on any connectivity or any broadband connectivity. The only connectivity in some of the places will be mobile phone, which is connected through microwave, but there's hardly any connectivity in terms of high-speed data. The second thing which is and the program which is going to be, the scale of this program is pretty huge. When we're talking of connecting almost like 800,000 villages, we're talking of 1.4 million kilometers of fiber to be rolled out. It's a massive project which is to be done, and as per the understanding, it should be rolled out in next maybe 2 to 3 years, and at least significant part of it will be rolled out. So the potential of 65% of the people coming on broadband connectivity and the kind of business impact it will have is very different. The other side is when you look at the urban side. Now, when you look at this program called 100 Smart Cities, and then subsequently another 500 cities and the 100,000 crores of the kind of allocated budget which has been recently announced around smart cities, is again a very, very different, is a hugely impacting program which will impact all the aspects of life. Now, people coming in from villages to cities with their expectation of a life, for sure that's not available, whether we call of safety and secure environment, or whether we call transport or lighting or any of these things which is impacting day-to-day lives. So these programs which have been visualized for sure are going to be having major disruptions as we move forward, and the potential of these programs are going to be huge. Now, when we and that's where we are saying that where are we today, and what is the potential of maybe being somewhere there tomorrow. Now, look at from the rural perspective, or maybe I would say not so urban perspective. The first thing is that whether we talk of education, whether we talk of health, whether we talk of banking, the gap between where we should be, or at least where we should be having a normal life versus where we are, the lack of doctors, the lack of teachers in those places is huge. And the way the technology can bridge this gap is not like, is easy. It's not something which will take, the solutions are already available. As soon as the connectivity is established, those solutions can be delivered to those people without even like teachers traveling there, or without even doctors, and at a cost which is much more economical than even today's solutions, where like the whole cost of you going to a doctor and then the time that is required to visit a doctor will be something which, when you have a connectivity, will be easily much a portion of that which you can deliver the same services. Moving into the cities, the platforms which are going to be impacting, whether we talk of energy, whether we talk of safety, whether we talk of transport solutions, all these solutions which are becoming rather critical to solve in an urban life environment, so technology can certainly provide. And these solutions have already been implemented across more than 150, 200 cities across the globe. It's not like these solutions have not been tested. Yes, they need to be customized to make what we need, both in terms of the basically aligning to what perhaps our systems are in terms of government, or in terms of even how people use it. But certainly the solutions are available and can be adapted as well. At least top 15, 20 problems of a city can certainly be solved to an extent what technology can help solve. Now, what we are looking at from a government perspective also, that currently we are limited with the thought process that this is the way it is to be delivered, because in the last 30 years, 50 years, it has been delivered in this fashion. But taking the government to the people's home, like for example, there are examples in Bangalore city where we have done a remote governance kiosk scenario, where you can walk in and can take advantage of almost like 30 government services just sitting across, and there is a person who will be talking to you. You can scan your certificates, you can take a printout of the documents, whatever you want, and all kind of services can be rendered. And it's not that you have to certainly visit all the 30 different departments of the government. So both in terms of cost, in terms of time, and in terms of convenience and the quality of service that someone can expect, can be delivered leveraging technology, and is being delivered. And what is in for us in terms of whatever disruption is happening, and all of you have given away your precious time and come over here. Like what is in for us, in sense like whether we're looking from a business perspective, the additional revenue opportunities which come along with us. Like if you're running a health business, or running a education business, or a skill business, the kind of potential it will open up when the reach is enabled will be immense. So whether it is additional revenue opportunities or opportunity to save your cost, is going to be, this is what perhaps some very high level numbers are. And government obviously will be the one which will be transforming the most, but it is the private business which is going to be leveraging out of it. So almost like $400 billion opportunity, and there are all these reports will talk of different numbers with the different assumptions, but for sure this is an opportunity for us to leverage in over the next 3 years, and we are lucky to be perhaps working in this environment where everything is changing and transforming. Now this is just a journey where perhaps everyone like initially internet was more of search or maybe Explorer or some of the basic email services, and now when we're talking of the new world is, and Jan also spoke about the Internet of Things, what we actually add and multiply it 4 times. So Internet of Things is basically connecting things. But what we're saying is, when you add people, when you add data, and when you add processes on top of it, it becomes Internet of Everything. And that's where the whole world is moving towards. And the potential of very, very simple things happening in a real life, like there was an example of Uber or Ola, very simple business model, people not even owning one single car, but still owning the maximum world share of the transport or the taxi business. It's the way the innovation is going to be driving. Now, when we talk of things, the potential of things getting connected, I'll just take one example. Like those 200,000 electric poles which are there across the city, they're one of the most critical assets of a city. Today, it's just a light, right? It's just a light, and which is switched on sometime in the evening and maybe switched off sometime in the morning. But the same pole can be enabled to deliver you connectivity, to give you safety solutions, and can also, once equipped with connected sensors, can be dynamically controlled in terms of the energy that is right now consumed can be reduced almost by 60%. So practically, there are so many assets across which once networked or connected can deliver a very different quality of life and different class of services to the people who are using to use it. And from all aspects, whether it's the residents of the city, or whether it is the business owners, or whether it is the government. And what do we really need to enable a digital enterprise or a digital government or a digital home? Practically, there's 3 layers. One is you certainly need to have a network across. From a government perspective or from a city perspective, we certainly need to be having a very high capacity, reliable, and flexible network which connects all the cities, all the endpoints. Now, endpoints could be cameras, it could be sensors, it could be information kiosk, or it could be Wi-Fi access points, which is right now making like so much talk about this. That's the digital world. So it's basically a network, endpoints, and then you need a platform where all your policy and processes sit. And when you talk of an enterprise, it's basically the same thing but in a different scale. Now, when you create a platform should be adaptable enough. It should be like an Android of this new world, where all the new applications can be put on, and the same endpoints, once they're feeding information or delivering information through the network, you can control the whole enterprise in terms of whatever you want. You can increase revenue, reduce cost, or maybe flexibility in terms of operations. Now, I'll just give you examples where perhaps maybe some of our solutions which we have deployed in our own campus or own environment. There is across the city, like in Bangalore, where we have some 11,000 people working. People come to work almost on a daily basis. Sometimes they work from home as well. People coming to the office will need different kind of transport modes, and they're all for the reason to deliver them a better quality of transport service. We have a complete transport NOC where we can control and manage all the 450 vehicles which are picking up employees and or dropping the employees in a very, very safe policy and process thing as well. While some of the employees who are coming into the campus, they just have to swap their iCard and their parking slots are immediately allocated and if they're carrying an application, they can be easily guided to the place where exactly the parking is to be done. This is like a mini, and I'll just talk about what it means. The guy walks in, and before he enters into the office, he has no allocated seat, to be precise. There's nothing called, okay, this is my nameplate and this is my cabin. You just swap the card, pick up the place where you want. There's a cluster where you can sit along with your colleagues who are close colleagues and just go there. Now just let me give you what exactly it means. When you're walking today in a Bombay kind of an environment where just a working seat it costs around $15,000-16,000 a year. That's the real cost, when we include the cost of real estate, cost of energy, cost of other IT facilities which we provide to make the employees sit. Now, today in our Bombay office, in a sales environment, not even 40% people come to office because either they are in the field or maybe they are working from home. Now, if everyone has a nameplate on his seat and just wants to keep a seat, you just imagine why are we paying that 60% seats at a rate of around $16,000-17,000 a year in a city like Mumbai, and this can vary up and down depending on where you are. We just need a flexible workspace where you just swap, and as soon as you select your seat, by the time you reach your place, your phone is configured, your video presence is configured, and everything else becomes your seat, and it is allocated to you for a few hours, and then the asset becomes shared asset. So these are kind of, and parking is like when you are looking at from in a city perspective. Today there may be so many parking slots around, right? While you are walking, driving around in a crowded place, you're causing a mess in the traffic. Second is that you yourself are so unsure, wasting time. Where do you park? Look at from the other side, the parking lot guy may be having some 50% parking slots empty and not able to utilize the asset which he has created. It's just an application where you just pick and say that, okay, fine, I need a parking space somewhere around this area, and you can just go straight. You reduce wasting your time, you reduce creating a mess of the traffic, and the parking business guy also gets additional revenue. And it's just a technology thing which just gets executed, and we have done it in a small fashion. So it's a question of how do you, when the digital disruption is happening, how do you enable your leveraging the technology, how do you enable that to give better productivity and maybe better flexibility to the employees so that they can, getting whatever time for more creativity, deliver you better results. On the other side, when we're talking of our customers as a business, whether we are looking at our supply chain optimization, whether we are looking at our ordering and our service response side with regard to what kind of quality of service you are providing to your customers, or the whole experience of customers while going and dealing with you, the technology enables everything in a perfect kind of situation. And what we are saying is that even today, as an organization, we ourselves we believe that we have only reached to the level of 30-40%. And we can benchmark ourselves with the best of the companies. There's so much potential that can be done. Like for Cisco, we have our own app platform where people download applications. Within our own employees download application. There may be some 40 applications where if you're in the front of the customer, you can, through the app, you can get all the pre or the presentations to the customer which need to be made, or maybe looking at some support, remote support that you need for some kind of a service request which is there on the site. And the video experience through this can really be a different immersive experience. So practically, the technology is, when you look at from the customer perspective, it's a huge revolution and it's a huge disruption which can bring. And the reason why, see, there may be a question whether why should we even invest in this technology and what is the value, additional value that will get created. Fact is that if you don't do it, there are others who are doing it, and practically there will be a time you will be left behind, and it's going to become a huge business differential for you. So innovation is now becoming an absolute must than actually a question of whether I should do it or not. Now, 3 areas where perhaps I think more or less we can converge on this thing is where the maximum impact we are seeing on the ground. One is obviously retail business. The second is the banking. And third would be just manufacturing. These are examples. In technology is rather has impacted or is being innovated in every space. But some of the places where it is perhaps having an impact the most is these. Now, from a retail perspective, whether we look at inventory management or whether we look at customer when they're walking in, can just tell you that you walk into a mall and the solutions that can be deployed, the whole way you walk into a mall, like you spend how much time in one particular location in a mall, then how much you actually purchase, then which is the route that you followed in a mall, can exactly be rather analyzed, and once the same thing the data can be pulled in from your device, like your phone or this thing, your complete profiling can be done. How much income, where do you live, what age, what kind of children, and all these things, and then you link it to the place where you're walking in. The whole revolution which can happen around this is immense, and it's already happening. It's not like you may not be even knowing that you're being exactly mapped, whether you bought something and you kind of spent 2 hours in a mall without buying anything, or maybe you walked in for 5 minutes and purchased some huge thing. So this is already happening in a retail world. On the operation side, obviously inventory management, delivering material in time, or maybe looking at on the back end when you are looking at a collaborative way of product development. So today, in most of the companies, I think people are all location-wise widely dispersed. For reasons, obviously we can't make people sit, whether it's a real estate, for the cost issue or flexibility issue. The way technology can enable is that wherever you are, right? Today we collaborate with like our teams in Australia or teams in US or in Brazil on a real-time environment basis, without even having any iota that people are not exactly at the same location. They can share video with each other. They can have joint designing exercise. So basically, it's moving already. It reached a level and it has huge potential as we move forward. Now, some of these things I think we have already seen, right? Whether it's a Prime Minister program of financial inclusion as it's happening, but there the kind of the whole gamut of new services and applications which are being launched in banking world. You walk into a SBI branch in the new branches that you have launched, you will not even find even like a attendant or any real person sitting there. It's a virtual branch. You go in and you have a video screen in front of you, and you can do all transactions which you expect. And when you come out, I can assure you that when you come out, you will have a better experience than actually even a real life experience of walking into a ATM bank or in a real branch. So now obviously, just to have a better mix of what kind of technology insertion will happen, you will have all kind of options. Whether you have a complete virtual branch or whether you will have a semi-virtual branch where some of the real people as well as the virtual assistant will be there. So this particular revolution is already, I think, visible, and you can see so many ads coming out where, like on your mobile screen, you can have your branch enabled. So this is, I just talked about SBI. Obviously, leveraging social media is another thing which is happening around in the banking world pretty fast. And actually, some of these applications, before you even think, are available. Like if you're not doing it, practically someone is doing it. And then we are talking of manufacturing business. Now, manufacturing business is something which is perhaps the whole go-to-market piece is becoming pretty important. Now, if there is to modify a particular product line or to take or maybe do a repair or do a preventive or post-maintenance, if there is a downtime in a shop floor, for sure it impacts hugely because the cost as well as time to take to the market for the products. That's one of the most critical pieces. Now, the solutions that are available today when we talk of IoE solutions, today it gives you a complete the view of what is happening on the shop floor, and even say half an hour of downtime, how much it will cost to a CEO. You can decide in one minute that whatever decision needs to be taken today. Or maybe you can't delay it because manually those things, it will depend on when finally the information is put up to you, when do you decide, and when do you actually execute the things. But technology enables a complete view of the shop floor or the plant in a real life environment, both in terms of economics as well in terms of operations. So solutions again, and for sure these solutions have not been implemented to the extent that you can see it all visible, but yes, few of our customers and few of every one of our customers has already started seeing or analyzing and maybe evaluating how far it will go. So this is something which I thought I will talk about, and I will open up for questions if there are any. From Cisco perspective, I think we are into all these solutions world, but for sure the larger picture of India where Digital India programs is being launched, where smart city programs are being launched, this offers an opportunity for all of us in terms of business and government as well as we ourselves to kind of enable this huge $600 billion live opportunity for ourselves.
Right, if we have any question, can we have a hand in the air? I've got a question there. Dave, at the back.
Hi, Purushottam. My name is Aditya Jaiswal from Vodafone. You talked about the expected revenue that that the private and public sector would generate out of the smart cities or the Digital India transformation. That is the what of it. I mean, my question is how does that revenue is realized? I mean, is there any fund allocated by the government for the smart city projects, or is there any other channel through which that money would be taken for the private sector?
So Aditya, even if I look at from your perspective, is smart city as an opportunity. Today you already have deployed fiber networks in most of the cities, and you are providing mobile services across, you are also providing enterprise connectivity. Now, leveraging the same network, if you are able to add and create more revenue for yourself for smart cities, I think there will be no better an opportunity than what perhaps, because right now there is X percentage of utilization of your fiber network. If it can be taken increased by 10-15%, you will have a huge productivity gains. So so the network is the first part in a smart city domain. So whether you deploy a safe city application, like maybe in Mumbai city, right now we are doing around 7,000 cameras to be deployed all across the city. But what is required to enable those cameras? You need a network. And network all across as diverse or as geographically available as perhaps maybe Vodafone would have it. Now look at from other applications which will get added up. Beyond the cameras, you'll also look at parking, lighting that we talked about, because cameras will be deployed where? At the traffic junctions, or maybe somewhere which is crowded spots. And when you enable the lighting as well on the same network, it's a huge another 200,000 electric poles which need to be connected. So practically network is going to be the base, and there is a huge opportunity for service providers also to participate as one of the major contributors, because government will not wait for another 3 years to roll out fresh fiber and provide fresh connectivity. They will have to leverage the existing networks which are available to deliver these services. So similarly for all of us, like whether we are Vodafone or whether we are any enterprise business, today there is an opportunity for all of us to play, because once the platform is deployed, a network and a data center which runs all the policies and processes, it just becomes an Android platform where you bring in your application and help monetize it, leveraging what city offers to you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other question in the audience? In any case, ladies and gentlemen, sir, will you be available during the day? Or if we
Yeah,
could get your
I will
contact
be
details,
for
you
some
will be
time
here.
and or maybe in
So
the
we
evening
could
as
take the questions offline also. Ladies and gentlemen, we would request Mr. Ibrahim Ahmed to join us on stage to hand over a memento to Mr. Kaushik.
Thank you.
Please get your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Kaushik for joining us on stage. And
Thank
that's
you so
a
much.
memento. A big thank you to you from our side, Mr. Kaushik.
Thank you.